What is your name and what do you do?
I'm Matt Pasienski. I am the Vice President of Growth at Wiseline.
Can you describe what your company does?
Sure. Right now we work at Wiseline, but I'll be talking in this video about a company we started a couple years back called Wise Services. So the way we started these companies is Bismarck and Vidal had been running a company called Uyala in Guadalajara. And when we started Wiseline, we decided to open an office there. And we were building a software as a service product. And one of our customers said, look, this product's great. You have this team in Guadalajara. Would you mind hiring a few people to help my company? And so we did that. And it initially started with about 4 people building product for our customer. And we grew it pretty substantially and started taking on a lot of software development products. So it was basically a service company, but we had a very strong focus on product, which meant we had a lot of user experience, technical writing, and I think a very different attitude than other services companies that our customer had worked with before.
What number startup is that for you?
So I've worked at a few startups, but Wiseline was the first one where I was part of the founding team, and Wise Services was the first one where I was the CEO and kind of founding CEO.
If that was your first startup, why did you decide to start a company?
Well, there's a couple things, but why we start the company at all, it was based on our customer needed something. I think we had initially had a customer right off the bat who was ready to pay. We had a contract in hand, and that was a really good way to start a company. And then the people I've talked with, talked to the CTO of Optimizely, one of the co-founders, and he said, don't ever start a company unless you have that first few customers lined up. And I think that was really good advice. And so that was kind of why we decided to start up. There was already a contract in place, and we kind of knew where the business would go for the first year. And the reason I chose to leave my gig and leave Wiseline, where I was at the time, and start this company was, I don't know. You have something to prove. I think there was a lot of things that I wanted to try out in terms of running a company, and I thought that we could do something special if we did it in a very particular way, and it seemed exciting and to be able to test your ideas about how companies should be run, how you could build products and things like that. Honestly, we made the decision pretty quick just because it seemed like a good financial idea though.
What was your most embarrassing moment or biggest issue that you had to overcome, and how you did it?
So many embarrassing moments. I would say that I don't know, for the first few years, not as it goes down over time. Like, you definitely don't end up as embarrassed every day, but for a while, you're doing so many new things that you just hadn't done before, whatever kind of area. So I was a data scientist for a long time, so you do a lot of stuff way outside of that. You're doing sales, you're hiring people, you're in just different types of interactions, and you do dumb stuff constantly, or stuff that you're not really sure of yourself, and but you make mistakes, and you go home and you just kind of feel sick that night that you made some dumb mistake and you really cost the company. And there's a lot at stake, so you do a lot of stuff that does cost your company, and you do a lot of things that do have consequences, and you have to adjust to that. But the worst embarrassment, customer interactions are pretty bad sometimes. When you have to do something awkward with a customer, you have to make an ask, or you get called out for doing something stupid. One time we went and had to beg for money, and you just feel real dumb. You kind of have to say like, oh, well, we need our payments to come a little earlier, and people are looking at you, where the amount of money that you need is like nothing to them. So they'll go along and they'll give it to you, but they're just kind of like, you guys, you kind of feel outclassed. And when you're doing a startup, you're going to be small and weak, and you just have to go through some of those embarrassing moments to get through that.
What is the one thing that people don't tell you about being an entrepreneur?
I think the thing that people don't tell you is kind of, it's not like you're afraid all the time, but it's you have this very strong sense of danger and isolation, and kind of and there's something bad about to happen constantly. Andy Grove has a book called only the paranoid survive. And you just have this like a fear paranoia that is always there. And when you come from a job where you have a boss and there's a cash flow in the company and everything, or you come from school and it's just like you have to make your grades, there's a structure, and you kind of just rely on this structure to tell you you're doing a good job. And then you go off by yourself, and no one's there to tell you good job except yourself. And you kind of have to really develop that inner sense of, I'm on the right track, keep working, understanding risk, and being okay with risk. And I think it's not like nobody tells you this. Like Hard Thing About Hard Things is a really good book about that. But you're not going to be ready for just how awkward and kind of in knots your stomach's going to be some days, just because it's all on you.
What would you do differently if you could redo it all over again?
So the main thing that I think I always could do much more of is communication. And if I would go back to any of the times where I've been involved in a company, it's communication, communicating clearly, often, communicating simply, is probably the most important thing that I've never ever done nearly enough of. Like even now, I feel like just sending emails to people more frequently, updating your team, creating clear descriptions of what you're doing, and making sure everyone understands that. Absolutely important, and you get so much benefit out of it, especially as your company starts to grow. You start to bring on new people, you start to bring on new customers. Having just a quick pitch of this is exactly what we do that you're sure gets their message across, and then thinking about every little last thing in that you're going to interact with somebody and making sure they understand why you're doing it, what's going on. The biggest benefit is just from being clear, and you'll be amazed at how much that improves things, and how much it affects people's perception of the quality of your work and the quality of your company. It's just being dead simple about what you are and what you do.
What was the outcome of your startup?
So Wise Services, we grew it. We expected it to be a small little company, and I think it went really well. And we grew it to about 40 or 50 people in about 11 months, which was a great outcome, and it led to an acquisition that was really good for all of our employees and everybody around the table. So we're happy.
Thank you.